How do you celebrate a win? How do you feel when something's off your plate? When you see that big thing come to fruition? Na, insert bumper music here. Hello, I'm Steph from Get to the Roots and Get to the Roots Extras, which is the podcast here. Get to the Roots is my show on Radio St. Pete, and Get to the Roots Extras is my podcast where I talk about things and hopefully invite more people on to interview and talk about things with other people. So, I wanted to talk about things being finished today and also procrastination. So my songwriting buddy and I, Jerome, we go out of our way to try to celebrate our finished songs or, somewhat finished songs. And it's nice. Like we meet over Zoom. So we do a little cheers and a little celebration, a little happy dance and clap. So, are you one of those people like us that sometimes kind of finish things, or are you one of those people who never finishes anything? I mean, I was one of them, one of you, if you were one of those people for a very long time. And then what feels like all of a sudden, but was actually many years, I flipped everything on myself. I get things done now. Things come out. Like, you are listening to this podcast right now, and it's out, and it's finished. Oh, this is not something that the old me could ever do. There's a great book called Procrastination, Why We Do It and What to Do About It. It's by Jane B. Burka and Lenora M. Yin. If you read this book, you're not going to be cured overnight, but I did read it in the 2000s, and over the years, I've gone back to the concepts outlined in the book. Pardon me. It's written by these two psychologists, the names I just mentioned, and they really went through a wide range of reasons why the brain falls back onto procrastination sometimes, or in my previous case, many times. The two reasons that stood out to me, though they outlined many reasons, were the fear of not being perfect, but also the fear of being successful and somewhat perfect. Oh, I'm coughing. Oh my goodness. I hope the AI takes that out. Okay. I'm a lifelong saboteur of my own efforts. Reading my first book on self-sabotage when I was in high school, before I even read this book on procrastination. And the book I read on self-sabotage, it really opened my eyes into how I was dysfunctioning out there in the world. It's not something that we learned about in school. I just picked this book up off the shelf. I don't remember the name of it. It had a yellow cover. And all of a sudden, for the first time in my life, my eyes were being open. I'm like, wait a second, I do this. This is not normal. I thought we were supposed to be incredibly hard on ourselves. But yeah, I am still hard on myself. But in comparison to how hard on myself I used to be, they are miles apart. Okay, so anyway, that was a great book. And then I love the book on procrastination. So if you read it, you won't be cured instantly, but it could be helpful if you find yourself not finishing things. Eventually, my own journey led me to setting deadlines for myself, and then now, randomly, I will finish early, which was not a common occurrence in the past. Though now I seem to race to get things done. I love getting things done, finished, and sent out into the world, and something else new on the plate, and then get that done too. I feel like I have endless projects, but I also now feel like I have things that are getting done. So with that, let's celebrate. It's done. It's done. It's done. It's done. I finished the Radio St. Pete slideshow, and pretty cool. The station is going to share the slideshow online somewhere. I wasn't expecting that. I had posted my draft on YouTube and was going to post the finished product later. I made one draft and then did 2 rounds of changes. The third round of changes is being sent off right now on WeTransfer as we speak. And by the time you hear this, it'll be already sent. So I wasn't expecting them to actually do anything about the slideshow online, but I kind of wanted people to know that their picture were in it, and in case people are interested or they just want to scroll through and find pictures themselves. But now I'm going to get to share a link to my own work on the radio's official page, and I think that's really cool. And I think that's the perfect way to go out with a bang. I'm ready to step back. My priority will continue to be to support artists here on my podcast and on my show on the station, and I'm going to create space for other people to make different work and contribute other ways. I don't want to do everything for the radio station. They don't want me to do everything for them. And this will be a great opening to get more people involved. Yeah, so I don't know if you noticed, but I am reading a script. I'm putting more effort into my podcast for you. I am a writer, but not by trade, but by extreme hobby. I've written a lot in my life. And that was something I've wanted to do for a long time, is actually script out the vast majority of these podcasts in advance, especially when it's just me talking to you directly instead of talking to a guest or the co-host. So I'm hoping that it's coming off a lot better and a lot more clear, and that you can celebrate with me. Yeah, so I'm very excited about that, to finish the slideshow and to just move forward and to give them that last thing. So, a few words on the slideshow, and these are, I did not script this part, but I just want to say them now. So it is almost 50 minutes long. It's 49 minutes long now. It was 48 when I thought I was done after the second draft. And there are some duplicates in the slideshow. I did notice, I was like, oh, I have a couple duplicates in here. And they also noticed some pictures that I thought were duplicates. And when I looked at them side by side, I'm like, oh no, these pictures are of just the same people at the same event, but they're different pictures. Okay, interesting. And the more I thought about it, I'm like, maybe I should put, I'm being texted. Let me just turn the sound off temporarily. I don't know if the AI will keep that in. So I thought, let's keep some duplicates in there. So Chuck Palahniuk, I don't know how to say it, Palahniuk, the gentleman that wrote Fight Club, he also wrote this book called Invisible Monsters, which was, I don't know, that was one of my favorite books by him. I also enjoyed Choke, but getting to the point, Invisible Monsters, he talked about it being like flipping through the pages of a magazine, kind of backwards and forwards in time, and the book is amazing. It's kind of graphic. I would not recommend it to anyone that doesn't have a strong stomach and who doesn't have like a morbid sense of humor. But if you have both of those things, you might love Invisible Monsters. It's great. I learned a lot from that book. But also the style was incredibly unique and it always stuck with me as an artistic achievement of that author. And I read it when it came out. I was in high school when it came out. High school or middle school? I think high school. And I was blown away. Just impacted me so much. So moving forward. Okay, what was I saying? So yes, so the slideshow, I kind of like create it to be like as if you're going through a big tub of loose photos, and you have some photos from this event maybe stuck next to some photos from that event, and you've just jumped forward in time to look at this artist's photo, or back in time to this other artist's photo, or here eventually later on you get deeper down into the tub and you see the duplicate from the other photo, and you're like, oh yeah, that I already saw this, but yeah, I didn't notice this the first time I saw that photo. Also, because the slideshow is so long, I wanted it to feel like it was just a program dipping into one giant folder of photos, but obviously we could not do that with my capabilities. Hopefully in the future they can. Hopefully they can just have a place at the radio station where you can upload all your photos, and then they will randomly play as a slideshow, be perfectly centered and cropped and clear, and represent everyone, and just play randomly forever, like one of those cool picture frames. But that's not what we have right now. Hopefully in the future, but not right now. So I made a video that kind of feels like that. So that was my idea, although people noticed the duplicates, a couple people, and they're like maybe not into it. So I might have to take the duplicates out, in which case I can re-record this podcast and be like, it's finally done again. I will dedicate time to taking out the duplicates, but I'm going to have to like write notes and be like, okay, that's not one at this timestamp, but this one is at this timestamp. So we'll see what they want to do. It's up to them. I'm not the boss. I'm not the person. Okay. So let me go back to reading. This is originally 1,020 words, so you're going to get quite a long podcast from me today. So I was talking about, before I went on the tangent to tell you more about the slideshow, about how I was trying to do too much with the station. And I think by doing that, I was preventing other people from doing their own things and contributing. And that was not my intent. My intent has always been to support people and give them a place to be platformed. But the whole station is full of many moving parts. The last thing I want to do is step on someone's energy or take something away from them, which is why I'm focusing on improving this podcast, like I said, and putting more time into my broadcast with the station. And for example, I did feature two of my friends this week, Fiona Frenchy and Linda Harrell, on my show, and I wanted to give them big shout outs because they both have either a show on Radio St. Pete or a feature in a show, and Fiona used to have a show on Radio St. Pete, so it was just the perfect time to mention them both, as Fiona's feature is new and Linda and Gary Harrell's show is coming up. I think they're at 1 year already. Maybe not, but it feels like they're at 1 year on their show. So I just thought it was the perfect time to Support them both. I love them both so much. Okay, back to reading. Okay, so anyway, I wanted to let you know that it's okay to step back and step away. Sometimes when you do that, you do create space for another person to get involved. Like, I'm so glad I don't have Linda and Gary's time slot also, because that time slot is for them and for their show. So being part of an organization means that you're not a one-person show. But this podcast currently is a one-person show. But I am actually working to change that too. More interviews hopefully coming and more collaboration with my friends. I did invite my brother from another mother and father, Tim Valley of the Florida Folk Show, to do a recording with me, and I'm hoping he'll accept. I also emailed an artist, Jacob Whale, that I featured on my broadcast last week or the week before, and invited him to come on and speak about his latest release as well. So there are things in the works to get more voices to your beautiful ears. So hopefully some of that or all of that will work out. Also, I have tentative plans with my bestie, Alexis from ABC's You, to get on here and have a conversation about music with her, because it's been over a year since we did our last one. So back to procrastination. See, you thought I was procrastinating the topic of procrastination, but I'm not. So from what I remember from the book, and I've read the book many times, I gave a copy of the book to my friend's daughter who graduated high school because he told me that she had a problem with procrastination. I was like, I have the book, and I read it when I was just about her age. That's perfect. I don't know if she ever read it, but she was an absolute sweetie pie, and I hope that if she didn't read it, she passed it along to someone else that might enjoy it. Okay, so procrastination. From what I remember of the book, it all boils down to fear. So when we're young, we're in school and we're in these large groups of peers. Usually, if you're in public school, even private school, it can feel like large groups of peers. And then we feel compared to others. And if you feel like you're on the bottom rung of the social hierarchy of the ladder, it can be very hard not compare yourself to others. And I think no matter what rung of the ladder that you're on objectively or subjectively, wherever rung you feel you're on, it's still, when you're young and impressionable, it's so hard not to compare yourself to others, no matter where you are. And if you're at the top, it feels like you must do whatever it takes, whatever you can to stay at the top, if that's something that's important to you. And I feel like a lot of kids, it is important to them. At least that's what I remember from the people in my own experience. And it's so hard not to feel discouraged. And so that leads to fear, fear of rejection, fear as a motivator, fear within every fabric of your sense of self. So being so young and thrown into this type of situation, just basically cultivates that sort of fear, in my opinion, as a basis. And that is directly related to procrastination. So a lot of us didn't grow up in emotionally supportive households. I surely didn't. My father triangulated me with my step siblings, and that choice he made was based on direct comparison. So there's that awful thing of comparing yourself to others again. Ugh. So when I was 12 years old, I had hair turning gray from stress. I literally had gray hair growing. And I had no support from my father. His new family was all about bullying me, and he was all about bullying me. And my mother was just checked out because she was trying to get her life back and start dating and find her next husband. Which, I get that. But, it would have been cool if her and I could have had, a nice relationship, too. So I only had, myself. So my fear was massive. I was left alone a lot before this. Even before they got divorced, I was left alone a lot. And then after this, it was just it was me and then my fear and nobody else is what it felt like. It was terrible. So this didn't just affect my procrastination, but it did make it severe. It made everything bad, all of the fear. And then trying to get things done and never getting them done, that was a problem, not getting things done, because in school, that's supposed to be your pathway to success. That's just supposed to be how you start your life and get out of being a kid and get out of needing other people. So I guess I went backwards in reading a book on self-sabotage and the book on procrastination, all the other self-help books that I read towards the end of my high school and during all of college and afterwards. But I addressed the symptoms first, and I just hit my microphone. Oh no, I hit my microphone and then it hit the page and I lost it. But anyway, so I addressed the symptoms first, but that did still help. So I guess what I'm trying to tell you is my songwriting buddy and I, we may never become famous, but we're going to try to put things good things. Not just things, but good things out into the world. We're going to try to give listeners feeling and connection. We'll try to make an impact. And we aren't going to let fear stop us. Yes, we might be slow because we have full-time jobs and lives and partners and businesses. And him and I both have way too many projects going on, but that doesn't matter. We're not going to let fear stop us. So I feel so good finishing the slideshow for the Radio Studio. It may not be the last slideshow they or we ever have, but it was a good thing for me to go out on. I wasn't entirely happy with the last one. Oh yeah, I wasn't entirely. I forgot I wrote this in the script. I wasn't entirely happy with the last few ones I made. I was like, oh yeah, I keep meaning to make. Yeah, so yeah, I wasn't entirely happy with it, and then also when I was looking at it last time I was there, which I think was in October. October, I had all these events happen in my life, and I haven't been to the studio since. And so I was like, oh yeah, I keep meaning to make a new one of these. I have this like on my calendar. I should tell people I'm gonna make a new one so I can start collecting their photos. So when I really took a look at the current slideshow, and I didn't like how so many people weren't well represented, and how the order of the slideshow seemed like very predictable. I think it was only 17 minutes long, maybe 22 minutes long. I don't remember. I've made like 4 or 5 of them, so it's quite a few. And I knew it was time to take some of like I had like my own personal artwork like to represent the radio. That was to get the name in there, and mostly because I wanted to be big and bold and bright and colorful and to suck people in. And that was before Radio St. Pete had the cool branding that it has now. Although I did have the current branding at the time in it. So yes, so I knew I had to take that out. It's like I was like, all right, I gotta take like my branding out of this because it doesn't match anymore. It matched the old. My branding, the stuff I made was like inspired by the old, so it kind of fit. It didn't fit anymore. and also I had photos moving, like some of the panoramics photos. I had them move, and upon looking at it, I was like, that really is jarring. I don't like that. I also had some photo collages in there, and they just weren't working visually. It was too complicated. It was too much going on the screen at one time. It'd be better to have one smaller photo than a whole bunch of smaller photos altogether. Also, some of the collages were all things that related to each other, like maybe everyone at the same event. Other photo collages were not working because it was like 2 people on the same page that didn't have an association. And I don't know these people I know a lot of people at the radio station. I'm very thankful for that, but I don't know all of the musicians. I don't know, maybe people have beef. I don't know, maybe they don't know each other. Maybe they're like, oh, why am I on screen with that person? Who is that person? Like, it might not have worked. And when I put down the pictures together, I tried to put them so that they were interesting visually and seemed to fit together, but that didn't that was not the best. Like, it was just, I don't know. It didn't feel right anymore. So I'm glad that I took it out, and now it's just like one photo pops up and then another photo pops up. I used to have things fade into each other. This time I took a lot of extra time, and not only is every picture the exact same length now, they all fade to black and then a new one pops up instead. I think there's one when it rendered that it went kind of quickly. And so it's like photo fade to black and back up. And I'm like, I don't know how to fix that. So it's like, it's going to be flawed. But again, like another thing about fear of being not perfect or fear of being too perfect. So fear of being not perfect is something that also popped up in my stuff with the green room with my old group that I used to do. And Jeff that ran that, he basically said, like, instead of trying to make it good, just like try to make it good enough. Like, be okay with releasing things that are like 80% good. And if this thing is like 1 second out of 48 minutes or 49 minutes now, that's not perfect. All right, well, it's a little bit better than 80% good. I mean, although I might have to go back and like delete all those duplicates, and then it'll be 100% good because I'm going to figure out how to fix that. I might put up like a black slide in between those 2 images, which that's probably how I could have fixed that. Oh, well, I'm babbling. So if I didn't procrastinate ever in my life, I wouldn't understand procrastination. But now that I am a previous procrastinator, I understand from inside and out, like what you might be going through and the challenges you're facing if you're being stopped by fear and you don't even understand your fear. It's so hard to get to. I mean, there's a lot of walls up that we separate ourselves from our feelings. And it's not always good. It's not always helpful, but it does happen, especially when we're younger. But when you grow up, you have to move past that. So I never would have fixed any of this or even finished the very first slideshow that I made if I still procrastinated to the level in which I did in my youth. And that just happened to me in my youth. I mean, I could imagine people out there that develop procrastination later because of their own life circumstances or that have seasons of procrastination. Oh yeah, that's another thing with the slideshow. I was like, this represents the seasons of the radio. All right, anyway, as always, none of this is the opinion or representing Radio St. Pete as a whole. This is just my personal experience in making something, and then I wanted to give you the value of talking about procrastination as well. I hope that I did that. I hope that I inspired you, gave you some ideas, and I really like that book, the procrastination book. I like the self-sabotage book too, but since I just got that out of the library 30 years ago or whatever, 20 years ago, I'm not sure what that was called, but it was good. Something to think about. Thank you so much for joining me today for Get to the Roots Extras. I hope that you'll check out my radio show on Radio St. Pete, Get to the Roots, where I play folk music. I hope that you check out more podcasts by me. And I hope that if you're one of my friends that I know in real life, that you'll want to come on and guest host with me, and we can have awesome conversations about anything that we want to get to the roots of. I keep hitting the mic. Thank you so much again, and I hope that you have a great rest of the day or evening or night, wherever you are. And I love you. Yes, I do. Yes. All right, bye.